Jamie Michael was a ex-member of our military who lived down in Merthyr Tydfil or near Merthyr Tydfil in the Welsh Valleys. And in the aftermath of the Southport murders, he'd taken to Facebook and made a video about illegal migration and effectively saying there are lots of unchecked illegal immigrants coming into the country, that we're seeing the fruits of that in Southport. Now, of course, he wasn't right about that, but he's nonetheless right about the overall picture with regards to illegal immigration. He said that he wanted to organise meetings in order to protect local communities from dangerous people. He said he wanted to put pressure on political parties and political individuals in Parliament in order to change the dial. And he used quite strong language, but not language which was offensive or racist, at least in my view. People can actually see the transcript if they go to, if they Google Jamie Michael, you'll find the transcript of the video very quickly. And he was arrested following a complaint that was made by a local Labour councillor in Merthyr Tydfil. So, not a councillor themselves, but a member of their staff. So a local member of staff for a Labour councillor made a criminal complaint to the police about the video, saying that they believed this was incitement to racial hatred. Two officers reviewed the video and found nothing wrong with it, and then effectively it was elevated and they decided to launch an investigation. That investigation resulted in Jamie being arrested at his place of work, put into custody and held on remand for 17 days. Now, if you think that sounds like a long time, he could have been on remand for a lot longer than that had it not been for a successful bail application that got him out of prison. But I mean, he could have, in theory, been on remand facing until his trial if nothing else had happened. And if you watch the video, if you read the transcript, it looks like a strongly worded speech, which might be made by any one of us who are concerned about the kind of issues that Jamie's talking about. And for me, it was sort of a must-win case because if we'd lost, the precedent that would have been set would have been really terrifying. I mean, Crown Courts don't set legal precedents, but I think they do set the tone for how these cases are dealt with by the police and the prosecution. And what can happen is if the police and prosecution find that they're getting a series of successful convictions by interpreting the evidence in a particular way, then that can influence the decisions that they make around charging people or opening investigations, etc. But thankfully, we worked on the case very, very hard, along with Adam King, a barrister from QEB Hollis Whiteman Chambers, who deserves a shout out for his work on the case as well. But it took the jury 17 minutes to acquit him. So there's quite a nice symmetry between the 17 days he was held on remand and the 17 minutes it took to acquit him. And although it's hard to read juries sometimes, we saw throughout the trial that the jury were having absolutely none of it, really. I mean, they can be quite hard to read, but there was just this sense in the room that the idea that this man would be prosecuted for this was totally ridiculous. And it was one of those moments where you realise how important the jury system is in protecting the integrity of our justice system and pushing back against interpretations of the law that don't fit with public morality. So he was acquitted, but that wasn't the end of the story. He has been involved in a lot of disputes around his ongoing work with children. The investigation obviously took him out of his life for over a year. And in that time, he was facing a possible prison sentence of up to 7 years. So it does, these cases are hugely important. And, there have been others like him who have been prosecuted either for being on particular demonstrations and getting caught up in trouble that they weren't actually involved with. We had a case like that that resulted in another acquittal just last month. So someone who attended a demonstration after Southport had gone to a demonstration outside an asylum hotel and had been caught up in the trouble that occurred there, but hadn't committed any violence, hadn't thrown anything, hadn't been involved in any disorder at all, and had actually tried to leave the scene in order to go home, but had been stopped doing so. He was also arrested and charged with violent disorder. And again, we worked very hard to try and get his case thrown out before trial, but that didn't work. But once the case was in front of the jury, he was acquitted very, very quickly. So I think what we see in these cases is juries often pushing back against the harsh application of the law and the harsh interpretation of the law against free speech. And that's why I think these cases are so important.
And there's 2 points there, isn't there? One is that people who think that there isn't an issue often say that, oh, yeah, but they were found not guilty. But it just ruins your life, doesn't it? It's not, even if you are tried quite quickly and found not guilty, I just think people around you still always have that kind of doubt in the back of their minds, don't they? And how do you live your life with that hanging over you? It just must pull the rug out from underneath you completely. And the other point was just in terms of the person who complained in that Jamie Michael case, which you said was one of the staffers of one of the council employees. It does feel we've got this layer of people who I actually think they're doing the right thing. They think they're fighting fascism, who are creating all these problems. And I just wonder how we have that discussion with those kind of people. I mean, does that bring you to your council meeting today? Does that tie into that?
Yeah, definitely. But perhaps just beforehand, can I just ask about the pleading guilty or not guilty? Because people might be aware of the Lucy Connolly case where she pled guilty, didn't she? What is the reason? What are the sort of incentives for one in that situation that is probably not so aware of the law and the legal implications? What was the reason that Jamie Michael pleaded not guilty?
Well, the reason Jamie Michael pleaded not guilty is Jamie Michael. He's a fighter, and he made the extremely brave decision at a time when he didn't know he had legal support to fight his case. I mean, and that for me is extraordinarily brave. And I can't imagine what it takes to say that, yes, I'm going to be willing to suspend my life for a period of 18 months to see if I will or will not face a very substantial prison sentence. I mean, that is such a huge decision. And it can be so easy to say, look, I want some certainty here. I accept I did something wrong, even though I don't accept I broke the law. I can accept I shouldn't have made the video or something along those lines. And you might think, well, the jury are going to hate me because they'll think I'm a racist and they'll think I'm being offensive. And so let's just get this out the way and done. And the incentive is that you receive a very substantial discount on your sentence if you plead guilty early. And I think in Lucy Connolly's case, her appeal actually focused on the process through which she came to plead guilty. And Adam King, the barrister I mentioned earlier, was also the barrister in Lucy Connolly's appeal. And it's worth reading the Court of Appeal judgment in Lucy Connolly's case to see, if you're interested in the question of why people plead guilty, that judgment of the Court of Appeal examined in greater detail than usual how Lucy Connolly came to enter that plea and why she did, and whether she was properly informed and advised when she did so. My impression is that Lucy thought that she would be going home a lot quicker if she pled guilty as soon as possible, and that she wouldn't receive the kind of sentence that she eventually did receive. And there was a significant dispute around whether Lucy Connolly had pleaded on the correct factual basis. But she's also someone who I think, had she gone to trial, she would have stood a really good chance, because her tweet, which has been widely quoted, included quite a heavy caveat, which said, as far as I'm concerned, they can burn all the asylum hotels down. Now, what she said wasn't attractive at all. It was not the right, an appalling thing to say. But that, as far as I'm concerned, they can, may have given her a window through which to fight the case. And it's because people aren't even, if a lawyer goes into a meeting with a client in that kind of circumstance, when they're facing quite a serious charge where the evidence looks quite cut and dry, the lawyer might think, well, this case is never going to win at trial. What's the point in challenging it? Let's just get this resolved as quickly as we can. And if the lawyer goes into that conference or meeting with that in their mind, then it's very easy for them to phrase the advice to plead guilty as the right thing to do. And it sounds as though that's what, I wasn't there, but it sounds as though that's something like what happened in Lucy's case. But we weren't there with Jamie Michael. You know, we weren't in the room with him. He had to take that decision for himself. He had to turn around and say, no, not this guy. I'm going to fight it. And to me, that's extraordinarily brave.